Hello and welcome to this video and to February's book review. Now, just a full disclosure, I'm actually filming this way earlier than I would normally. It's only about the 20th of February and that's just because the end of the month is very busy and I have literally no other time to do it. So I do have 4 books to talk about, but this is by no means all that I'm reading in February. I'll probably get 1 or 2 more read this month in the last sort of week, but they will just now be in March's video instead, just because of everything that's going on at the moment and the fact that I would normally film this on the last weekend of the month and I'm just not here to be able to do it. So not quite how these videos normally are, but as I say, we still have a number of books to talk about, so let's jump right on into it. So I started the month reading My Sister Lives on the Mantelpiece by Annabel Picture. This I bought in a charity shop and I'll link that video up here if you're interested, because I have read the other 2 here. So I have read Silence is Goldfish and Ketchup Clouds, and this is the only one of those her books that I haven't read. And as it was reasonably cheap in the charity shop, that's why I thought I would give it a go. I really enjoyed Ketchup Clouds. I wasn't so keen on Silence is Goldfish and I didn't particularly enjoy this one. So this is probably my least favourite of the 3. So this follows 10-year-old Jamie. His parents are splitting up or split up. They have their own issues and it all stems from the fact that his sister dies in a terrorist attack in Trafalgar Square. And there's nothing actually on the back of this that says about the terrorist attack, but I'm mentioning it because I was surprised with how much Islamophobia was in this book. I mean, I know why it's in there, because obviously the dad in particular is very anti-Muslims due to what happened to his daughter, and he's then like tarred everybody with the same brush. But I was surprised with the amount that was in it, and it took me by surprise and took me aback a bit and made me feel kind of uncomfortable, and I wasn't sure it was quite suitable for the audience that this book is aimed at, because it's sort of, I guess, cuspy of middle grade YA, this book. And as I say, I do understand why the author chose to do it that way, because then it added to the 10-year-old boy's confusion of having his family's viewpoint, and then he meets a Muslim girl at his new school and likes her, so he's then confused with that, and it's, you know, to get across that not everyone is the same just because they believe the same thing or they look the same or anything like that. So I understand the point of it, I just found it a bit too much, particularly because there's so many other things in this book, such as like alcoholism, eating disorders. This kid is basically going through everything, and I just thought, pick one or two and then that'll be enough. I think Annabel Picture just chose too many topics, too many big topics to try to get across to that audience, and I'm not sure it fully worked for me. I do like the animal paw prints along the long edge of the pages, but would have preferred them to go all the way around. And actually, because it is just the little things, it did distract me a bit, because when you're reading it you just see hints of blue here and there, but that's my own issue with the book. So not the best start to the month, but I still quite enjoyed it, aspects of it, and if it's a topic or a subject that you're interested in, I would recommend. So that is My Sister Lives on the Mantelpiece by Annabel Picture. If you remember in January's video I mentioned that I had several things in the month that I wanted to do. One of them was to reread something. I wanted to read something on my Kindle, and as long as I got a non-fiction book I wanted to read a non-fiction book. So this month I went with a memoir, and that was 84 Charing Cross Road by Hanff, or Helene Hanff. I didn't realise this was a bind up of 2 stories, so you've got 84 Charing Cross Road and then you've got The Queen of Bloomsbury, I think it's called. The Duchess of Bloomsbury, my apologies. So the first part of this is essentially a series of letters between the bookshop on 84 Charing Cross Road and Helene Hanff, who lives in New York, and she's looking for all sorts of slightly rarer books that she can't find, and then she builds up this rapport with the bookshop, and it's really interesting to see how their relationship grows. She obviously sends them parcels for like Christmas and stuff, particularly during rationing, which they all obviously appreciate greatly, and it's just nice to see how that relationship builds just through letters and finding books and things like that. Eleanor Hanff is quite sassy. She certainly knows what she wants, which was quite fun to read as well, and one that I enjoyed. So that would have been 84 Charing Cross Road, which is actually quite a short thing. There are a lot of gaps in between some of the letters, and you wonder whether some of them have got lost or whether they just didn't communicate for long periods of time. And then you got to the Duchess of Bloomsbury, make sure I got that right again, Bloomsbury Street, which is more told in sort of diary form during the couple of weeks, 4 weeks, month, 2 months, I can't remember the length of time, that she is actually in London, which is something she's been wanting to do for a long time but has never had the money. So she manages to come over and to do all of these things, and all of that. I didn't enjoy that a bit as much, and it was the largest part of this book, partly because it's set in the 70s but it feels so much older. Now I don't know whether that's just the society that she was in at that point or whether it was her, but I felt like there should have been, you know, a bit more modern references. It felt like she was still in the 1920s when she was in the 70s. And it's amazing how many free dinners this woman can get. Like, a lot of her days are, this person took me here and this person took me there and I went for dinner with this person and they paid for this, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's impressive how many free meals that this woman can get. The books that she's reading in the first one, it helped that my brother had spoken about a lot of them, so I knew what was going on. It was, you know, people like Beau Brummel and Pepys and that period of history. I know that's huge, and Adam will be like, oh, just a couple of 100 years or whatever, but that period of history, and it's those kind of bind-ups that she was after. I would say though that it did get a little bit repetitive. It was sweet and it was charming, but it did get a bit repetitive. And the thing that impressed me most about this book, and it shouldn't be this, but I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but when this book was first sold, it cost 75p. How was that ever a thing? So obviously this copy is yellowing and very old, and I think published in like the 70s. It can't be the 70s if it's 75p. Is that really? This was from like 77, 76, something like that, and it cost 75p. I wish books were that cheap now, although maybe I don't, what with the amount I already have and haven't read yet. But there we go, that was 84 Charing Cross Road. Sweet, easy to read, a little repetitive in places. And that's by Eleanor or Helene Hanff. My reread of the month came in the form of Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail, Honeyman. Again, I bought this in a charity shop because I often say it's one of my favourite books, and it was my favourite read of whatever year I read it in. But quite frankly, I couldn't remember all of the book, so I wanted to have my own copy anyway, just for my own library. But I also wanted to reread it to see if it actually was as good as I remembered. Annoyingly, the copy I have, the first few pages have all fallen out, but I think I'm getting a new one from Pete's mum, so all is not lost. We won't have to re-buy this book again, so happy about that. So in rereading this, I realised, as I said, that I didn't remember all of it. There are bits of it that I did, and as I was reading it, more came back. I don't think it's the 5-star that I gave it the first time, but that might be because obviously I've read it before, and I've noticed that whenever I do give a book 5 stars, it's often because it's taken me a bit by surprise and I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy it, and then really liked it, which was definitely this one, because this book came out at a time where like every single main character had mental health issues or something going on, and I'm not sure all of them were written very well, unlike this one. From the first page I enjoyed this. It follows Eleanor Oliphant, who is a very regimented person. She follows the same routine every week, but that includes essentially drinking 2 litres of vodka at the weekend and not talking to people. So throughout this book you learn about Eleanor's past, which is not pleasant, shall we say. That's kind of mild, and it's her coming to terms with it a bit more, learning to integrate a bit more, and it's just an enjoyable read. There are moments in it that really made me chuckle, there are moments that really made me like pull on your heartstrings and made you feel sorry for Eleanor, and there are elements in this that I find quite relatable, although not some of the main plot points obviously. So I did enjoy this a lot. I gave it 4.5 stars, so still a really good rating for me. I very rarely give a 5-star anyway, and I enjoyed the writing from like day dot, like from the first sentence I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to enjoy this book. I really like the way that Gail Honeyman writes. So as I mentioned, the main themes in this of like loneliness and friendship, and how the smallest of acts can make the biggest impact, which I think is quite a good thing to take away. And I really enjoy Eleanor and Raymond's friendship in this. It's the bit that makes the book for me. I just think it's really well written and really well paced. Considering how Eleanor is, it's not 1 to like 100 straight away. It's a gradual build up, which I think suits the character and suits the book really well, and their friendship's just adorable. I like it a lot. So really glad that I managed to reread this one. It's been one that I've wanted to come back to often. So there we go, that was Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. So the last book that I read for this video, although technically not for the month, was The Passengers by John Marrs. I love The One by John Marrs. It's another one of those books like Eleanor Oliphant that was a surprise 5-star for me. Again, it's not one that I've reread, so maybe if I read it again it wouldn't be quite so high, but eventually we might get to that one again and see what we thought. But I really liked The One. I thought it was very clever the way that it was written, and I've been looking forward to picking up another John Marrs since I read it, and it was finally time to do that. So The Passengers is again a bit sort of Black Mirror-y in that, based around driverless cars essentially, and how we're basically in a normal UK, but we're slightly further ahead, slightly more futuristic in that all cars are driverless. There's no manual thing, so there's no steering wheel in there anymore. There's no way that a person can do anything to the car other than be the passenger. And it's been said that these can't be hacked and they're not a danger and all of this until the hacker comes and hijacks 5 or 6 cars, and then all hell breaks loose essentially. It's quite difficult to concisely explain the plot because there are so many bits to it, and obviously it's a John Marrs book, so there are so many twists and turns that I don't want to spoil anything, so sorry if that was a bit babbled and gambled, but that's where we're at. But I really enjoyed this book as well. I didn't think it was quite as good as The One or what I remember of The One, but I did really enjoy it. I found it a bit slower to get into. We have quite a lot of characters to get to know, and it took a little bit of time for that to happen, but once I was hooked. I just wanted to carry on reading. As I say, John Marrs books are full of twists and turns, so even if you guess one bit, you're never going to guess the twist that comes after that bit. And some of the things that came out, I was just like flabbergasted. I was like, what? I did not see it going there at all. I really enjoy how all the information trickles in. You don't find out a lot. You just get a little bit here and there, which then obviously keeps your interest and keeps you turning that page. And I could really see this book being a film one day. Just from the way it was written, it felt quite cinematic to me. So within this book there are also lots of references to The One, so I think it helped that I'd read that one before. Although they are standalone novels, it's just, it made sense with some of the references to the DNA matching that is the concept off the one. I would say though that the end of this book did trail off quite a lot. It did lose momentum a bit towards the end as we were doing the sort of wrap up, but then the last chapter brought it back and it was just very, very good. So as I said, it's a hard one to explain and a hard one to talk about without giving loads of stuff away, so I hope that will suffice. But that was The Passengers by John Marrs, and would very much recommend picking up one of his books. I've got a couple more on my Kindle, so we'll see if we get to those ones soon. And there we go, there are the 4 books that I've currently read in February. As I say, we've still got about another week, so I'm hoping to get 1 or 2 more in, but they will be in March's video. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already and you're interested in the books I read in March, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you've read any of the books I've spoken about and you have any comments or you have any recommendations for me, please put those in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!